woman has died in what appears to be a tragic extreme sports accident in Brazil. 3 men have been arrested over the incident, in which instructors failed to attach a rope to her before helping her jump from a bridge in Sao Paulo state. Who? Iran versus New Zealand. What? FIFA World Cup 2026 Group G match where Los Angeles Stadium, California, US, when Monday, 6 p.m. local time. How to follow. Keep up with all updates on Al Jazeera. Sport Iran will finally take to the field for World Cup opener on Monday after months of uncertainty surrounding their participation in the tournament and following the United States-Israeli attacks on their country that began in late February.
An overcrowded bus has crashed in northern Ethiopia, killing at least 31 people and injuring dozens more. Police have confirmed the bus veered off the road while travelling to the capital Addis Ababa early on Monday and plunged into a ravine 100 metres, 330 feet deep. It had departed from the town of Dessie in the northern Amhara region of Ethiopia, whose roads are among the most dangerous in the world. Tehran, Iran. The world let out a collective sigh of relief when the United States and Iran announced that a memorandum of understanding had been agreed to end nearly 4 months of hostilities on Sunday. But on the streets of Tehran, exhausted by years of sanctions and tensions, the ceasefire announcement has done little to instill confidence that the crisis is over. An agreement between the two sides, to be signed on Friday, looks set to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, largely controlled by Iran since the war began on February 28, something it is hoped will stabilise rattled energy markets. In return, the US will lift a naval blockade on Iran's southern ports, which has squeezed Iran's already embattled economy.
Over the past months, many countries have announced plans to restrict social media access for children and teens. Australia became the first to implement such measures at the end of last year, setting a precedent that other countries are now closely watching. The UK is the latest country to announce that it will impose a ban on social media use for children. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer the ban on June 15. The regulations and proposals being brought forth by governments around the world aim to reduce the pressures and risks that young users may face on social media, which include cyberbullying, addiction, mental health issues, and exposure to predators.
Anthropic has disabled access to Fable 5 and Mythos 5 after the US government issued an export control directive citing national security authorities. The order requires Anthropic to suspend access to the two models for all foreign nationals, whether they are inside or outside the United States. The restriction also applies to foreign national employees working at Anthropic.
Samsung messages will be deactivated for users in the United States in July, meaning Galaxy users who still rely on the app will need to switch to another texting app. The change mainly pushes users toward Google Messages, but Samsung has warned that text messages, RCS conversations, and message history will not move automatically.
The Punjab Revenue Authority, Pehel, has sealed multiple branches of popular cafe chain Double Shot across Lahore over alleged misreporting of sales data and violations of electronic invoicing rules, according to an official order seen by Pro-Pakistani. In a sealing order under Section 59A of the Punjab Sales Tax on Services Act 2012, the authority stated that the business registered under PNTN H053642 was found to have allegedly bypassed the mandatory electronic invoice monitoring system and underdeclared its taxable sales.
Karachi. 2 bureaucrats have been booked over an advance payment of $8.5 billion to contractors of the Yellow Line BRT project. In an alleged case of misuse of authority, it emerged on Monday. The Yellow Line is planned to connect Quaidabad's Dawood Chowrangi with Numaish and will exclusively use electric buses to ensure it remains environmentally friendly.
The Ministry of Religious Affairs on Monday announced that the Muharram 1448 AH moon was not sighted in the country. The first of Muharram will fall on Wednesday, June 17, while Ashura will be observed on June 26. In a notification, the ministry said In pursuance of the decision of the Central Reti Hilal Committee in its meeting held today in Lahore, the federal government in the Ministry of Religious Affairs and Interfaith Harmony, Islamabad, hereby announces that the moon of Muharram 1448H has not been sighted.
Medical charity Doctors Without Borders, MSF, admits its staff were accused of sexually abusing at least 59 Sudanese refugees who had fled the civil war in search of safety. Young girls were exploited in some cases, and often food or jobs were offered in exchange for sex.
A remote Albanian island has a new nickname, Kushner Island. Jared Kushner, the son-in-law of US President Donald Trump and founder of investment firm Affinity Partners, plans to build a 1.4 billion luxury resort there. The project has prompted large protests, with crowds chanting, "Albania is not for sale." Is this the future Albanians want, or a sellout of their land to foreign wealth? In this episode,
More than 1,000 civilians in Sudan have been killed in drone strikes in the first 5 months of 2026, according to the United Nations. The death toll is due to a sharp increase in the use of drone warfare in the country's vicious civil war, UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, UNHCHR, Volker Turk said in a speech on Monday.
A British court has convicted 2 men for a series of arson attacks targeting properties and a car linked to Prime Minister Keir Starmer. On Monday, the jury in London found Ukrainian national Roman Lavrinovich, 22, and Romanian Stanislav Karpiuk, 27, guilty of conspiracy to commit arson. The verdict was delivered following a months-long trial held in the British capital.
a new report from Reversing Labs has warned users about short-form videos on platforms such as TikTok and Instagram Reels that are being used to spread password-stealing malware. The videos usually promise free access to popular products and subscriptions, including Spotify Premium, Windows, Office, and Adobe. These offers are being used to lure users into following unsafe instructions.
An 88-year-old art teacher in New York has sold a painting for $254,000, roughly our 7 crore, after her family used Google Gemini to help identify its real value. According to the New York Times, Helene Plotkin bought the painting from a thrift store in White Plains, New York in 1966 for less than $100. She kept it on her wall for nearly 60 years without knowing it was a valuable artwork. Elon Musk became the world's first trillionaire on Friday after shares in SpaceX surged during the biggest stock market debut on record. The Tesla and SpaceX founder strengthened his position as the world's richest person, with his total net worth reaching $1.11 trillion, according to the Bloomberg Rich List.
Lahore, the Pakistan Cricket Board, PCB, on Monday unveiled a new framework for awarding central contracts to players from the next fiscal year beginning July 1, 2026, while making no changes to either the National Selection Committee or the coaching staff. PCB Chairman Mohsin Naqvi, at a press conference held at a local hotel, made the announcements. He was accompanied by the High Performance Centre Director Aqib Javed, White Ball head coach Mike Hessen, PCB Chief Medical Officer Dr. Javed Mughal, and other officials.
A daredevil social media free climber nicknamed the Spider-Man of Yemen has died after falling into a volcanic crater in the country's southwest. Al-Kaka Ibn Antar had been attempting to climb its steep rock faces on Friday without safety equipment when he fell in, according to local authorities.
A 60-day deadline for Iran to make a nuclear deal with the threat of US military force looms, as President Donald Trump says he hopes for a deal even with Iran's leadership remaining defiant and Israel pushing for military action sound familiar. While déjà vu is technically an illusion of the mind, the above has happened once before. It is both where the Middle East is today and where it was in April 2025, in the weeks before the first Israeli strikes on Iran last year and the US attack on its nuclear facilities. The past year may resemble a circle in US-Iranian relations back to the same place, but the trajectory has spiraled downwards for the US and the region as a whole.
Beirut, Lebanon, on Monday morning, people in Lebanon woke up to yet another ceasefire agreement. An agreement announced between the United States and Iran includes Lebanon, according to Iranian and Pakistani officials. But statements from Israeli officials cast doubt over whether the war that has been ravaging southern Lebanon since 2023 is finally over. Videos on Monday showed Lebanese people returning home to areas in the south of the country, though officials warned anyone from border villages not to return until the security situation becomes clearer.
A group made up of dozens of cybersecurity experts, including several well-known veterans of the industry, published an open letter to the US government asking it to lift the export control order on Anthropic's Fable and Mythos models. According to the open letter, action has taken the best models away from cybersecurity defenders, who now can't use the models to find vulnerabilities and make their software and products more secure. Xiaomi's upcoming Mix Fold 5 is expected to arrive with a higher price than its predecessor, as rising component costs and the company's custom chip development push the foldable into a more premium bracket. The Mix Fold 4 launched at around $1,290. The Mix Fold 5 is now expected to cost around $476. Pakistan's Tekken star Mohammad Fazeen has won the IMIX Up 2026 in France, adding another major international title to his growing list of achievements. The tournament was held in Lyon, France from June 13 to 14 and featured Tekken 8 as a Tekken World Tour Master event. The event had 270 entrants, bringing together several top international players.
The Pakistan Cricket Board, PCB, has announced that the regional interdistrict U19 one-day tournament will begin on Monday, June 15, with 103 districts and zones from across the country taking part. More than 1,600 U19 men's players in the 50-over red ball tournament. The participating teams have been divided across 16 regions according to their regional structure. Iran's football team landed at Los Angeles International Airport on Sunday, marking their first arrival in the United States at the FIFA World Cup 2026, ahead of their Group G in from Tijuana, Mexico, after receiving a rousing send-off from their temporary base camp. Iran had shifted its camp from a sports complex in Arizona to Mexico late last month, following joint US-Israeli strikes on Iran that began in late February.
Pakistan fast bowler Haris Rauf has joined the San Francisco Unicorns for the 2026 Major League Cricket MLC season, continuing his long association with the Bay Area franchise. The Unicorns confirmed Haris Rauf as one of their returning international players after the MLC retention window closed on March 22, 2026. The Pakistan pacer has been part of the franchise since the inaugural edition of the tournament in 2023 and remains one of their key overseas players.
The British government's decision to ban the pro-Palestinian campaign group Palestine Action as a terrorist organisation is lawful because of its support for violence. London's Court of Appeal ruled on Monday Palestine Action, which had increasingly targeted Israel-linked defence companies in Britain, with a particular focus on Israel's largest defence firm, Elbit Systems, was proscribed under terrorism laws last year.
Islamabad. Members of the Senate from both sides of the aisle on Monday raised alarm over the burgeoning debt of Pakistan, sans a roadmap for economic stability. On June 12, the government presented the budget for FY27, allocating 8,054 BN for interest payments.
The war has been President Donald Trump's worst foreign policy blunder so far. It makes it harder for the United States to deter its enemies.